can bring her on. I can bring my mother, my father on. Everybody, anyone that knew child version of Aswan. I'm talking about formative years Aswan. Aswan that, elementary school, middle school, high school years Aswan. And you will bring up a certain franchise named the Washington Redskins, and everything would change. The entire conversation would change. Listen, I love my Michigan Wolverines. You guys know, diehard Michigan Wolverines fan. The regular listeners, you guys know I'm a diehard Michigan Wolverines fan. But when you're talking about those Redskins, those Commanders, whatever you want, when you talk about that team growing up, it was going to be a debate. We were going to go at it all day. I mean, when I tell you this franchise that I love beyond like you more than you would ever know has put me through a lot of stuff. I mean, you guys can't see it, but you see, I'm starting to lose it a little bit up top. And I blame the years in which I have been forced to love this team more than you would ever know. I mean, and because it's part of it, growing up very shy, very reserved young man, very obedient. I had 2-parent household, Caribbean parents that were teaching me in the home to be very obedient and not be disrespectful at all. That's the way my mother and father raised me. But when you're talking about that type of kid and him, finding his acceptance on the football field. Again, I have an entire book about it. It's all written right here. I have an entire book about it. Finding my acceptance on the football field, and then the team in which I became a super fan of, that I watched all the transactions, went to the practices, went to the training camp. In fact, I remember the first time we ever drove out to Ashburn, Virginia is where the Redskins headquarters are, the Commanders headquarters are. Drove out to Ashburn, Virginia. This was around the time, I remember the same year, it was around that year where Dan Snyder bought the team. And then he goes and he gets prime time. He gets Bruce Smith. He goes and he signs Bruce Smith. He signs prime time. And there was another person that he signed, like pretty much just was paying a bunch of like older veterans. And then from that point to where you go and you sign an old washed up Donovan McNabb, and then you bring in an Albert Hainsworth, we pay him $100 million and he doesn't even practice. The guy can't even finish his conditioning tests. I mean, then you had the whole Jim Zorn situation. Then you had the situation, as again, loyal Washington Redskin folks, this is a great time. I mean, and again, yes, I do. I'm hoping, obviously, that they win these next 2 games and win a Super Bowl and ultimately put the icing on the cake and really seal the deal. But speaking from the perspective of someone that has truly bled the burgundy and gold, if we're talking NFL football, I am just happy that we're relevant. I didn't expect this. I never know what the expectation. I mean, listen, I expected a lot when we had RG3, but by the time RG3 happened, it was like the straw that broke the camel's back, if you can get the analogy, right? By the time RG3 happened, because at this point I had developed in my football knowledge. At this point, I was in college at this point, and I was playing for Stony Brook, and I was towards the end of my playing career. And when they made that trade to go and get RG3, and this was the craziest part about that trade, is this was back with Mike Shanahan and Bruce Allen. So Mike Shanahan was the head coach, and Bruce Allen was the general manager, or the vice president, or whatever they want to call him. So during that year, they go and they make a trade to where they are going to get the second pick in the NFL draft. And then obviously they go along and then they get RG3. It's going to frame the entire discussion that we're going to have today. As you see on the screen, versatility equals longevity. All right. The message we have for today is not limited to the football world. All right.